Okay. All right. Good morning, guys. We're going to cover Service Manager 2012 R2, and we've only got a half hour, so I'm going to probably fly through this because, to be honest with you, I can talk about any one of these modules themselves for several hours. So let's kind of just jump right in. If you don't already know, Service Manager is Microsoft's solution to IT service management, and it provides a variety of solutions for change management, incident management, problem management, release management, and service requests. And it does this via a management server, and it provides reporting via a data warehouse. Now, one thing that you will hear quite a bit associated with Service Manager is what they call the CMDB, the Configuration Management Database. And what it does essentially is not only does it store all of the data, request data, Service Manager data in its database, but it also is collecting data from other sources such as Active Directory, Configuration Manager, OpsMan, and so on and so forth. And it pulls all of this data together and allows you to look at various objects, different requests, tie these objects and requests together, and we'll kind of dive into that a little bit here in a few minutes. So let's just kind of cover the modules real quick. I'm not really going to touch on activity management, even though it's here. It's mainly available for the user or the analyst, the resolver, to go through and be able to see what type of activities are assigned to them, what activities are out there that maybe they can assign to themselves or assign to other users. But the activities are found within the requests of these other nodes. Real quick, just some quick housekeeping. This is the workspace. This is the tasks space over here, and then of course we've got the nodes over here. And you can also just quickly, to expand this workspace, you've always got the ability to do something like that. And that's important when you've got multiple columns where you're trying to view quite a few requests at any given time and wanting to see all of the columns. So again, kind of going through the nodes individually, we'll just kind of go right down the list here. Each of the nodes, so for example, change management comes with a variety of views. And these views are a way to sort and organize the various types of requests that that are found in Service Manager. So I may have a bunch of resolved requests, closed requests, requests that are assigned specifically to me, so on and so forth. And these views make it very easy to be able to jump right in and find out, provide a list of those specific types of requests. And something that I probably should jump into just so we can kind of talk about views a little bit. You can see I've got quite a few incident requests here. One of the neat things about Service Manager, it has this filter at the top. So I don't necessarily need to create a view if I want to group objects together. Now, you see I've got a lot of test items here. So I'm just going to start typing in the word test. And you can kind of see what it's doing. It's actually filtering on the fly as I'm typing. So anything with the word test in it is going to come up. But this is another way to group, and it will sort or allow you to filter based on quite a few criteria. So not only can I, and here are the criteria that it's allowing me to filter on. So I can type in words that are found in any of these fields, but I can also select these individual fields. So I can specify, the status needs to equal, this or contain this, or so on and so forth. So the filtering is very powerful. One of the things that customers initially, when they look at the product and they've got thousands of requests or thousands of user objects or thousands of computer objects, one of the things that I try to get them to understand pretty quickly is not only can we create views to be able to help you organize those various objects, but the filtering within Service Manager is extremely powerful. So whether I've got 10,000 items here, 20,000 items, I can quickly get to a grouping of items without having to create a new view specifically for that reason. So let's look at a couple of the requests. Again, we've only got a half hour, so I'm going to kind of blast through this. Um, uh, Service Manager out of the box gives you the ability to do a lot of things with right-clicking. So I can create and edit this view by right-clicking on it. I could also do the same thing by coming over to the task pane and doing the same thing. Oh, something else to note, be aware of, is that the task pane can be broken up into various sections. So if I want to do something that affects the root folder, change management, I would perform one of the tasks down here. Whereas if I want to do something specific to this change request, I would choose one of these task items. Something that's kind of important because often there'll be a delete, and it won't say, it won't say something as explicit as delete view. Configuration Manager is kind of the same, and if you hit delete under all change requests, you'll wind up deleting the entire view, whereas maybe all you wanted to do was delete a certain object. So we can create an object by right-clicking on change management. So we can create a change request. I could also come over here and create a change request. And again, you want to be aware of where you are at if you want to do something using the task pane, because if I create a change request down here, and this works for all of the nodes, by the way, it'll create a brand new change request unrelated to anything. But if I create the change request from up here, it's going to relate this change request to this change request. And I can show you what I mean by that. Actually, let's just do it that way, because there's only one thing that's slightly different when it comes to the items being related, but it's actually very important. Service Manager makes use of templates. I strongly suggest you utilize templates. It's actually one of the top 3 or 4 powerful things out of the box that Service Manager allows you to take advantage of. And basically what it does is all of these nodes include what they call forms. That's what the request is generated from, is from a form. And we can look at one of these forms. But by having the ability to create templates, I can pre-populate these forms with a lot of different information. And when a user needs to go in and create a request maybe that's a request that a lot of users are requesting over and over again, change my password. Or something like, let's take change my password, for example. You could come in to create a template that automatically has account management filled in. If it's change password, it's probably a lower priority type change. Now again, this is, I'm using change password. You probably wouldn't do a change request for that, but you can see where I'm going with this. I could even put in here, I need to change password, right? Something like that. But you can fill all of this information in, save it as a template, and then when your users, again, you can have thousands of templates. It doesn't matter, because if I need to change my password, I can simply type in the word change password in the template, in the filter within the templates, and it'll instantly pull this guy up right away. It'll pull up anything with the word change and the word password in it. So it's very, very powerful, and it allows for consistency in your environment, or at least for reporting purposes, because if I've got change password here, the end user is submitting that request and they don't understand, that's account management, and they might put it as other, or simply go to other down here, and now you've got your reporting is a little goofed up because some users are putting it in one area whereas others are putting it in another. So again, we've got a standard form. Most of the forms look very similar, title, description. They do change slightly down here depending on whether it's a service request or an incident request. In change requests, something unique with change requests, I've got this planning tab that asks you additional information. By the way, something else that I want to point out real quick, Service Manager is extremely customizable. All of these forms are stored within management packs, and a management pack is very similar to a management pack, and Service Manager is similar to a management pack in Operations Manager. It's in an XML format, and it allows, even these forms, they're stored in management packs, and I can simply go in and edit that form, add fields, make fields required, all kinds of cool stuff. But it's extremely customizable, not just the forms, but a bunch of different areas within Service Manager, and I can kind of point some of those out as we go along. But the biggest one, that most organizations are going to look at is customizing the form, because they'll either want to get rid of fields, make certain fields required, add additional fields, etc. Activities is one of the things that when I go in an organization and implement Service Manager, it takes a little bit of a mind shift, or a different way of thinking about how requests are handled, because a lot of the other ITIL solutions out there don't utilize activities the same way that Service Manager does. But once you get over the fact that it does utilize activities, you'll see that it's extremely powerful, and there's a really good reason that it does that. So basically what they're talking about when they say activities, it's basically a workflow of things that need to happen either sequentially, in parallel. And again, I'm not going to go into a really deep dive on this because due to time limitations. But for example, if I've got, I want to submit a change request, the first thing that typically will happen in a change request is somebody needs to approve it. And they have this thing called a review activity where I can assign various approvers, assign different thresholds on how it should be approved. Is it a percentage of users need to approve it? Do all of them need to approve it? Is it automatic? When I submit this specific type of request, does it just automatically get approved? That's just one of the activities. They have these things called manual activities. Again, after it's approved, this is where you might actually do the thing. So whether that's adding memory to a server, or rebooting a server, etc. And you may have other activities, a review activity at the end where you've got somebody that needs to go in and validate the change. Again, they'll go and make sure that the memory was added or the reboot happened properly, and then they'll approve the fact that it happened properly. And by doing that, this goes for service requests and change requests. When all of the activities are completed, the change request auto completes itself. Something else that you'll find in a lot of the requests are the results, what happened. Oh, by the way, all of these lists items, whenever you see a drop-down box, I talked about editing the XML to customize the form, but one of the things that Service Manager allows you to do within their library is easily go in there, no XML or anything, it's just a GUI interface where I can simply add items and create my own custom list. So anytime you see a drop-down box, that's typically the case. You can go in and edit that list very easily. So this is where a user could put in the results of their change. One thing I mentioned earlier when I talked about related items, I chose to create that change request, and I chose it from up here. Oops, wrong screen. From up here versus down here. Since I chose it from up here, and this goes again for all of the nodes, and we'll get in configuration items in a minute, but I can actually choose a user or a computer and create a change request, incident request based on that computer, and it'll automatically add it to related items. And this is pretty important because if I've got, again, one of the cool things about Service Manager is it allows you to relate items to each other. So if I make a change to a computer, to a user, something user related, you can do that, add those things here. And oops, actually it's here. I said this is where you would add related requests, work items. This is where I would add computers and users. And let's just say I'm making a change to this machine. This request is forever tied to this machine. So let's say we upgraded the memory, and another tech comes in, the following day, completely unaware of any memory upgrade, but they're having, frequent lockups on the machine, so they reboot, everything's good for a little while, then freezes up again. They can immediately go into this object. I'm just going to open it up. They call this a configuration item, and this is where I mentioned earlier Service Manager having hooks into Active Directory, Configuration Manager, etc. It's able to pull all of this information in, but a user can instantly go look up this machine that's having the freeze up issues, go to related items, and quickly be able to tell, now I haven't saved this request so it's not showing up here, but quickly see everything that's going on with this machine. I can see all of the change requests that have happened recently, any incident requests that have happened, which could be, if it was a change request where memory was added, then I pretty much know I need to go in and look at the memory and see what's going on there. But maybe this has, 10 or so incident requests where we're having to reboot it every couple of days, and and people are just continuously creating requests to reboot the machine. But if I go in and look at this machine and see that I've got all of these requests rebooting the machine, rebooting it might fix it temporarily, but you'll realize that you've got a bigger issue at hand and that you really need to dig into what the real problem is. So it's great for troubleshooting, great for auditing and tracking what's happening with objects or your environment. This goes for users too. I mean, you can add users. So I can say I've got a user that's changing their password every week. Well, if they're talking to 8 or 9 different technicians, it may not be very apparent. But if you talk to somebody and then the next day you think to yourself, well, wait a minute, it seemed like I just talked to them. You can pull up that user account and see that they're calling in every week, which means this person needs to be educated on password management. I know it's kind of a dumb example, but you see what I'm getting at. History is pretty awesome as well. Now, right now I'm in the configuration item, but there is a history. It's pretty much an audit trail for every item within Service Manager. This includes the requests, configuration items themselves, and it basically tells you every single thing that's ever happened to that object. So if I've got a change request, let's jump back to our change request. If I've got this change request and I fill everything out, it looks exactly the way that I want, hit OK, good to go, and I'm done. Well, user B comes in later and they say, well, wait a minute, you want this to happen tomorrow, but technically we need to wait for a week. And he comes in and changes this, right? Hits OK. And then I come in later and I'm like, wait a minute, who in the world changed who changed the date, or who decided to add more memory, or whatever? You can easily go to the history tab, and the user that was responsible for doing that will be listed here, as well as the exact change that they made, whatever they did, whatever change they made to the form, which is kind of nice because, again, that audit trail is great to have. ITIL folks love that stuff. Okay, so I'm not going to save this, but this kind of gives you an idea of what the forms look like. And again, all of these fields are reportable, so I can report on any of these fields. There's a lot of good out-of-the-box reporting that comes with Service Manager, but the real power for reporting is what they call cube reporting, and we're not going to talk a lot about reporting today. But basically, you can open up Excel, make a connection to the CMDB, or the data warehouse database, excuse me, and create umpteen, thousands of different types of reports, and have these really neat graphs, and so on and so forth. And that's all handled through the data warehouse. But again, we're not really going to touch a lot on that, other than just want to mention there's a lot of good reporting out of the box. Okay, incident management. Again, I don't know if I want to go into all of these nodes. But I can tell you that incident management is the help desk component. So if I've got an issue or a problem, I need my password changed, my machine's freezing up, this is where I would create an incident. Now, something that you can be aware of with incidents, and it's kind of the same thing that we talked about with that change request earlier, often incident requests will turn into a service request. So, for example, my machine's running low. Me as the technician, I can RDP into the guy's machine or do a shared desktop session and see that he has high CPU usage, high memory usage. He's paging a lot, so apparently he needs more memory. I can instantly create a service request from this change request, and that will fire off a request to the folks that handle adding memory to the machine. I'm not going to do that, but you see where I'm going with this, right? So you can easily create items that are related to other items. And the neat thing about that, again, is just like when we were in the change management form, if I get a service request where it says I need more memory, I can go over to the related items and see why this was created, look at the incident request and see, okay, it was paging a lot. All right, that makes sense. He needs more memory. but maybe, you look through it and it doesn't really make sense why they sent this over. Why does he need more memory? You're saying that he's locking up, but it looks like a disk issue or whatever. Again, this is a bad example, but you see where I'm going with this. And you can easily see who it was assigned to. So the person that requested the additional memory, you give them a call, shoot them an email. Oh, something else to point out, and you probably saw this earlier when I double-clicked on the computer object, but you can do this for almost any of the objects that are related to the request. And the reason that I say related is once you get into reporting and activities, you'll find that sometimes reporting on these items like affected user or the related, anything found in related items, it's easy to report on all of these fields here that are not considered related items, and it actually is easy to report on these as well, but it's just not straightforward all the time. It's not all the time straightforward. But one thing you can do is if I've got an affected user here, and again I've got a request where he needs to change his password, I can easily double click on his name, go over related items, and see that he's been getting his password changed, day in and day out. So we need to do something about, educating this guy, talk to his manager, educate him about password management type of thing. This item, by the way, along with the computer objects, are considered configuration items according to Service Manager. And just want to kind of talk about that real quick because that's another major component of Service Manager. And out of the box, you get these various components, but it's certainly not limited to these types of components. I can include network devices, almost any type of device, hardware device, anything that I want to track within Service Manager. Software information is going to be pulled from Configuration Manager. The user information is being pulled from Active Directory. Computer information is being pulled from AD as well as SCCM, or Configuration Manager. And again, these objects are great to have populated within your CMDB because now I can tie these objects to various requests, to each other for that matter. And it's all done dynamically. Most of this stuff is done dynamically. So, for example, when I pull in a user and he's got, and I wish I could find one here. Let's just type in admin. So administrator. Oops, I didn't want that one. I guess this will work. But one of the things that we can have, that you'll have within this isn't a good one. But what happens is all of this information is populated dynamically. I didn't have to go in here and manually edit anything. Anything that you have within AD. So that being said, AD should be in decent shape, right? Because if I want to populate, the company information or even the office location, because I'm going to make use of that information in other areas of Service Manager or performing some type of automation based on this information in this field, I need to make sure that AD is up to date or populated with this information. Service Manager is not the source, I guess is what I'm saying, for any of this information. It all comes from somewhere else, whether it's AD, SCCM, OpsMan, etc. Real quick, we're running out of time. I want to talk about the automation within Configuration Manager real quick, or within Service Manager. One of the neat things about Service Manager is that it works really well, or almost goes hand in hand with Orchestrator. You almost never want to implement Service Manager without it, only because I can do a lot of automated things. I can send automated notifications out within Service Manager. I can do a lot of things within Service Manager, but some things you can't do. Some things that you want to do, like for example, provision a user, or actually I've got a good example is Operations Manager. Say that you've got Operations Manager monitoring a web service, one of your customer-facing web services that generate money, and web service goes down. OpsMan can generate an alert and automatically create a help desk ticket or an incident request within Service Manager. Service Manager will identify that incident request as specific to the IIS service going down, and it can communicate with Orchestrator, which is an automation tool. It basically allows you to do automated things such as provisioning users. You can automatically build VMs, and in this case, go out, look at the service, see that it's down, restart the service, report back to Service Manager that it either successfully restarted it or it did not. And if it did restart it successfully, you can notify OpsMan, and it'll automatically shut down the alert. And all this time in the background, notifications can be fired off to the appropriate users that need to know that this thing happened. They could also get a notification saying that it was successful, that no worries, it was down, but we restarted it. So you may want to take a look at it and see what's going on, but just be aware that we've restarted the service and you're good to go. And again, if it failed, they could notify them, hey, we tried to restart it, failed, you need to go in there and do something about this. Let's see, the library, again, library. Something I want to mention real quick, all of these tasks over here are not all of these tasks. What I was going to say is that some of these tasks are customizable, but you can also add an unlimited number of tasks over here, whether they're PowerShell script, command line based scripts. And what's kind of neat about them is you can put in what do you want to say? What do you call that? Information specific to a specific request. So I can have a PowerShell script over here that says, do this thing to this specific request, and it knows which request it is, because in my syntax I've got do this thing to, and then in quotes, $, incident request ID or something like that, and it'll just automatically know which request I'm talking about. Now we're in runbooks right here, but you know what I'm saying if we're talking about a request. Those are found under tasks, where you create custom tasks. Templates, again, templates are huge. Save your users a ton of time. Using templates, as well as promoting consistency for reporting, for a bunch of different reasons. But yeah, templates are huge. List items, I talked about being able to customize the drop-down boxes. And again, you'll find all of that here. I mean, out of the box, there's quite a few. But you can definitely edit the existing ones. You can add additional items, add additional children. It includes a knowledge base. You include knowledge articles. One of the things we didn't talk about in our request, when I get a service request, I can resolve the request, but also tie a knowledge article to that request, so that if a user goes in later and looks at what happened when I ran into the same problem in the past, what did I do to resolve it? They go to a knowledge article, or they could just go right to the knowledge article. And again, I can't think of a good example, but machine freezing, they could type in machine freezing, and hopefully there's an article already out there. And the knowledge articles are awesome because it's just filled with tons of information, including, you can have links to websites, and it'll display the website right within the knowledge article itself. Yeah, I'm kind of running out of time, so I'm brainstorming of anything that we might have missed. We didn't really talk about administration very much, but administration, these are where you can add those hooks that we talked about into some of the external applications like SCOM, AD, VMM, Orchestrator. Management packs are managed here. Uses RBAC security that all of the System Center 2012 applications are using now, so role-based security. Makes it much easier to instantly give a user permission to do the job that they need to do without giving them additional permissions, but it's customizable too. I can copy a role, excuse me, and then trim those permissions, customize those permissions to that specific user need or requirement. Yeah, we didn't really touch on service level management, but it definitely does a lot with SLAs. It includes a work calendar. You can define what the working hours are, the different metrics that the SLA should be revolved around, and then tie that together with the service level object. And you can send alerts and notifications based on SLA. It's really neat, really nice. And then the workflows. So we've talked about notifications and automation. There are some automated things that you can do out of the box with Service Manager, but it's somewhat limited. So that's again where Orchestrator comes into play. And when you bring Orchestrator into the mix, you almost went to somewhat limited to now the options are unlimited. You could do an unlimited number of things with Orchestrator, and you're taking the workload off of the server, which in large environments without a lot of resources that might be useful. I think that's about it. I mean, that was a really fast 30 minutes, but any questions or anything that you want me to dive into a little more? I mean, I know that we're out of time, but I still have time if you guys want to keep going.
Yeah, thanks, Herb. Definitely. So, we try to keep these short and simple. We do record them. The other options is to, do these half-hour sessions on a specific, either on incident management or problem management, and then just be really specific on that. So that's an option. Or if service manager is something that you really want to see more of, you could, do an hour and a half session as well next time around. So if there's any questions for Herb, please join in either the chat window or on the phone.
Okay, great. Oh wait, I just saw the chat window here. Yeah, so yeah, Brad has a good point. Run books are excellent. Orchestrator, they have their automation tool is driven by what they call run books, and you can start and stop services, password resets, add users to groups, and it's really neat because you're getting into that whole cloud-based type solution, right? You don't have to have a technician or an IT person involved. If I need to change a password or add a user to a group, all I've got to do is, and one thing we didn't even talk about was the portal. They have this thing called the self-service portal that is a gateway. It's a web-based gateway for end users to be able to go in and request these things themselves. And again, if you're using Orchestrator the way that we just discussed, I can reset my own password. I can add myself to a group. And again, this can all be have approvals behind the scenes. So if I do want to add myself to a group, I can submit the request. It'll automatically send the email to the approver. He can automatically approve the email within the email, or approve the request within the email. It'll send that information back to Service Manager, which will send it to Orchestrator, automatically add the user to the group, and then send the end user, hey, you've been added to the group, you're good to go. Have a good day. But yeah, Orchestrator is great. Anything else?
Perfect. Thanks, everybody. It looks like if there's any more questions, we'll end the call and we'll set up the next several sessions, and we'll keep doing the service manager and maybe go deeper into a specific feature in the next couple of sessions as well. We'll record this. I'll put this up on SkyDrive and share this out to the team as well, so you have a pre-recorded version of this webinar.
Excellent.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good day.